Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webcast on working drawing tips. We're going to go through our top 10 working drawing tips that will help you to create working drawings in a quick and efficient manner. I have with me today Nicholas Cudmore.
Hello, everybody.
And I'm Chantal Pitts. So we're going to go through and do our tips. And as we're going through and posting up and showing you our favorite tips to make working drawings, we invite you to do the same as well. So in the GoToMeeting panel on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll notice that there's a place that you can type in questions. So if you want to type in your tips that you want to share with everyone, we'll be able to read those out after we're done our top 10 tips. So it's a great opportunity for everyone to share and collaborate together so that we can make working drawings one step easier for everyone using the software. So starting off with our first top 10 working drawing tips, I'm going to go to the drawing sheet here at the bottom, one floor plan. When you're inserting a smart view, whether you're going to the Insert Smart Views, Define Smart View, or using the icon here, Define Smart View, when you're in this dialog box, I'm going to share with you a tip that's going to help you to create your working drawings a little bit quicker. I'm going to come down here to the bottom to the View filter. When you're in the View filter, this allows you to turn on and off the visibility of different elements that you've created in your model so that when you put them onto your drawing sheet, only those that you've shown will appear. At the very top of this screen, you'll see templates. This allows you to create a template so it turns off things quicker. So if I hit here, New Filter, this allows me to turn off things that I'm creating and save it as a template. So as an example, when I create my floor plans, I never want to see the floors. I'll turn that off. And I never want to see the ceilings coming through. I like just a clean line of just the walls. And scrolling down further, I don't want to see any of the roofs either. So I'm going to turn those off. And I would call this one my floor plan view. And then I hit Save. This allows that the next time I come in, I can see my floor plan view. And just by clicking on that, it'll turn off the things I told it to turn on and off. So using that strategically for your working drawings, you could have one saved called Electrical Plan or HVAC Plan and turn off everything except what you would want to show as your electrical elements or your electronics and what you would typically show in your electrical view. That saves you time every time you go to do a working drawing to turning on and off the various eye filters here. Just by using the template, I'll use floor plan view and click OK, it shuts off everything that I don't want to see. And I find that beneficial when I'm creating my working drawings just to use my template so I can quickly turn on and off the things that I don't want to see. So I'm just going to zoom in on this one. And I'm going to go back there because I also want, and I forgot to turn off my terrain in my template. I would have turned that off as well. Showing that, I'll just insert that onto the working drawing sheet, and there we have it. So it's a quick way of turning on and off the visibility of different things you want to see and don't want to see every time you create a working drawing sheet. Number 2, off to you, Nick.
The next one for number 2 is going to be Descriptive Text. This is a very handy tool in the fact that we've already labeled everything in our actual model view. So whenever you go to an actual wall or a tub or a sink, it actually has a name already that's defined for it. So all we're taking advantage of is that name when we're using Descriptive Text. You can do this in one of 2 ways. You can go into Tools, Text, and you can do the Description Text here, which I would use more for plan views. That way you can label things right underneath the element that you're working with. Or you can go to the Leaders option and select Description with Leader. And this will allow you to actually go in, select the element that you want to define, and then you're able to create a leader line. And I'm just going to turn on angle snap, so it's going to snap to an angle for me. And then I'm just going to bring this over, and it will pull up the name of that roof for me automatically. So again, it just refers back to the model of whatever the element is named, and then just fills in that information for you. And again, just to do it one more time, Leaders, Description with Leader, select the wall, bring my cursor into my drawing area, create my leader line, and then it will pull up the name of that wall for me. Once it's added in, you can still modify it. So I can still go in and select it, and then in the object properties on the right-hand side, I can go in and adjust the actual content to add in any extra information that I want to for that particular wall. And that takes care of description text.
So making our way down the list now, I'm going to go to our top 3 tool that we're going to have. I'm going to take it down to this 4th sheet here at the bottom. On this sheet, I've previously inserted the floor plan with just the floor framing showing. So it was just a defined smart view with just my floor framing showing. Now what I want to do is I want to put in the spacing of those members. So we have a new tool that we introduced in version 14 called Member Spacing Note. And I don't know if you've had the opportunity to take advantage of it, but it'll help you to save time when documenting your members. So it wants me to show where I'm starting to do this note. So I'll pick onto the far left-hand side, and then I'm drawing all the way through over to my far right-hand side. And in this dialog box, it's going to ask me a few things. One, what's the dimension style that you want to use? So it's going to be looking at your leader line weight that you're going to be using when defining the line that I just drew. And then underneath that, it gives me the ability to type text that I want to show, or I can select the text. So I'm going to select an item, and I'm going to come up here and select one of those floor joists. Automatically, it feeds into that dialog box 2x10 SPF joist at, and then from there, I can continue typing, and then I can use some stuff underneath the line as well, and I'll say just complete this blocking. So that allows me to, when I click OK, do a couple things all at once. Put in the text and the line for my members for my floor joist layout plan. You can use this not just for denoting the members. I'm going to go back to our floor plan view and zoom in on one of the rooms here. And I'm going to go back and use that same tool. So draw, details, member spacing note. I'm going to say I'm going to start this note from this point over to this wall. And here, I'm not going to take advantage of picking the members. I'm just going to type a note. So above the line, I'm going to want to say hardwood flooring. And then beneath it, throughout. So when I click OK, hardwood flooring throughout room. So you can take advantage of draw, details, member spacing note for its original purpose of putting in the floor joist layout plan and showing the orientation of your floor joists and denoting what they are, or take advantage of it as well to show finishes in a room.
So the fourth option on our list is going to be the roof symbol tool. So again, I'm going to go back to the elevations tab, and the roof symbol tool is a handy little tool that allows you to denote the actual slope of the roof with a couple of clicks of a button. So I'm going to go back up to draw, details, and then in that same list, we have a roof symbols tool. And we're just going to click on that. This tool will step through and allow you to denote what type of slope you want to be showing. So here we're showing something in 12, and we know that we're working with an 812 slope. So I'm going to change this to be 812. I can also go through and adjust the text style. So here it's set to default. I'm going to make sure that that's set to marks, and I'm going to say OK. The length that we're specifying here is actually the hypotenuse of the triangle that you're going to be creating. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to make it 1'6". And then the alignment is basically showing you which way do you want this to be represented on the actual screen. And the way I like to refer to this is the left side, that's where the text is going to be for my rise. So when I say left, that means the number 8 is going to be on the left. If I change it to right, then the 8 will be on the right-hand side. So when I say OK, now attached to my cursor is that rise over run tool, and I can simply left click to place it where I want. Again, if I want to do it again on the other side, I would just go back to draw, details, roof symbol, and it will hold all that information for me So I don't have to re-enter everything. The only thing I need to adjust is the alignment. And I'm going to say right and say OK. And then I can place that on the side of the roof that I want for the right-hand side. So again, a nice little tool to help you add in your roof slopes very quickly and very easily.
All right, we're down to number 5. And this one is dealing with when you're putting in a lot of notes. So every time you create your working drawings, our whole theme today is trying to save you time and energy that you need to create your working drawings for every single project. You can take these little tips that we're giving and apply them to all your projects to save yourself some time. One of the tips is about notes. So if you have an extensive note that you're typing out every time you have a new project, you can save that note and just import it. So I'm going to go up to Tools, Text, and Text. In the text dialog box, where normally you would come along and type out the note that you want to have, what I'm suggesting that you do instead of that is take advantage of this import button. When you go out, it'll go out and look out on your hard drive for a note that you can bring in. I typed out general notes architectural.txt. You can bring in either a TXT file or a rich text file. The text file that you bring in, a TXT file will have no formatting. A rich text file will have formatting set to it. I'm going to click open. That will take the notes that I previously typed up in Word or Notepad and automatically populate them in this dialog box for me. From here, I can add to that. So if I wanted to have general notes architectural be underlined, I can underline just that part of it and go through the different notes here and just add and change things if I wanted to. Once I click OK, that note will be attached to my cursor, and I simply left click to place it into my drawing screen. So now I have that note typed in and brought in, which I originally typed up in Word or Notepad. I suggest doing that for all of your specification notes. So if you have notes regarding wall construction, roof construction that you're bringing in for different projects, type them all up in Word once. You can take advantage of spell check and how you're going to orientate the text in that document. Save them as individual documents, and then just save them as a text file, .txt. You can do that in Word or Notepad, and then you can bring them in as you need them for different projects. So it's a great way of, especially if you're a one-finger typist, to save yourself some time every project so you don't have to keep typing out notes over and over again.
All right, so the number 6 on our list is going to be the project manager. And this is a very handy tool that relates to your actual title block. So for information that is always going to be the same on every single title block, we have something in this area here called project name, address, and city. We also have client name. So that information will always be the same on every working drawing sheet. So if we go up to File and Project Manager, you'll notice that these are actually linked. So here I have project name, and I can actually go in here and say John's house. And then I can actually change the address to be 123, and we'll say Fake Street. And the city will be Guelph, because that's where we are right now. And I will say Guelph. So I've made this change in the project manager. And when I open this up now, we can see that it's actually populated everything in this title block. The nice thing is that it's not only populated this title block, it's populated every title block on my working drawing sheet set. So I don't have to go into each title block and edit this. I can do it once in the project manager, and it will update every title block sheet. And any new title block that I create, it will also copy that information over when I say add a new worksheet. Sorry, copy your worksheet. So we'll cancel and delete that. Copy the worksheet. It'll copy the title block from that view, which will also have that information.
Thanks, Nick. Number 7 on our list. You went through and you created all of your smart views. You've got all of your working drawings done, and your homeowner walks in the door and, I want to change. I don't really like the front door. You want to change everything. So you have to come back to your model and make that change. So I'm going to come along here, grab this door, and I'm just going to replace it and tell it that I'm going to do just a single door here, click OK, and now we just have one door. If I had dimensions running around that, all I'd have to do is hit auto exterior dimensions again, and that would repopulate all of that. So now I want to translate that change to my elevations, to my floor plans that are done in my working drawing sheet. So I'm going to come out to my sheet, and I'm just going to zoom out here so we can see the entire sheet. And I'm going to click down here on Update Smart Views Globally. When I click on Update Smart Views Globally, it'll give me a list of all of the views that I've inserted from my model onto my working drawing sheet. And this allows me to go through and say, which ones do I want to change and which ones don't I? For those of you that are remodelers, you may have started out by drawing the original floor plan and inserting that onto your working drawing sheet. And then you went back to that original model and started adding on the phases of construction, the new construction, the demolishing, any new additions that you're putting on. What you want to make sure that you do is you uncheck any of the sheets, and I'm just going to randomly select some sheets here, that you don't want to change. That original floor plan that you laid out. Anything that's not going to be changed by this amendment that I made to the original model, changing that front door. And then when I hit update, what Envisioneer is doing at this point is looking back to the model, and then it's looking to the elevation sections, floor plans that I've inserted, and it's making any changes from that model to here. So you can see that I unchecked this view, so it doesn't change. But other views that I didn't uncheck, well, now it's changed. This front elevation now has a different front door. But because Nick, on top of that, had did these notes, they're still going to remain. They weren't part of that original elevation that I inserted. He inserted them afterwards. So they're going to still remain. It's just updating anything that's changed from the model. So anytime that those changes happen, and we know every project they're going to happen, make sure you take advantage of Update Smart Views globally, but remembering that you can uncheck things that you don't want to change, especially if you're dealing with a remodel situation and you've inserted that original floor plan onto the drawing sheet to show what was original, and then a new one to say what's changed. Uncheck that original floor plan so you're not affecting it. Back to you, Nick.
So next, I'm going to go back to working with the title block, and we're next going to be talking about attributes. So like I was saying with the title block, some information is always going to be the same on every single sheet. So like the company name, like the project name and the client name, but some things will change, like the actual sheet name and the sheet number. These things will be dependent on what you're actually inserting onto them. So to take advantage of that, we insert attributes. And when you select a title block, you'll see that on the right-hand side under Object Properties, we have the attributes. And all you have to do is simply click Edit, and it will define what the attributes are on that page. So here we see a sheet number, a scale, a sheet name, and then a sheet subname. And again, you would just go through here and add in any of these changes. I'm going to cancel this one. I'm going to go to this last page here, and we're just going to make a new page. So to make the changes, again, select the title block, click Edit. We know that this isn't going to be sheet 4 because we've already got a sheet 4, so this one's going to be A5. We're going to leave the scale as the same, but we'll change the name, and we'll call this electrical plan. And then we can do the working drawings as the subname to that, and then we say OK. So again, that's just changing just this actual plan. I spelled electrical wrong, but we can go in and again, you can make those adjustments. Now, further to this is actually some of the other information that isn't being changed. So I can make those changes in this title block by simply selecting it, and then there's an Edit Definition. And the Edit Definition allows you to adjust things that could potentially change that you want to make adjustments to. So like drawn by, checked by, approved by. You can change the date. All of these things can be changed just by simply selecting the Edit Definition. And then all you have to do is click Escape on your keyboard to get out of that definition. That change for the attributes is per sheet. So whatever you do is only on that sheet. If you edit the attribute, or sorry, edit the definition, that will change on all of your sheets as well. So here if I select edit definition, and I change this to be today's date, which is May 2019. Oh, yeah, sorry. Content. And then type in May 2019 and say OK. It will make that change. And now all of my other sheets will also say May 2019. So again, attributes will only affect the sheet that you're working on, but editing the definition will make any change to the actual title block on all of your sheets as well.
Thank you. When you're making your working drawings, one of those pages is usually about details, specific details that your building inspector wants to see on your working drawings to get approval. What I suggest for your details page is to have one ready that's part of your working drawing set that has all of the potential details that you could be using, that you could take things out if you don't need to. So I'm just going to delete out this section here and delete out my little notes that I had earlier here. I would come up here to grab some of my CAD files, my details that I want to insert. So I'm just going to grab a variety of different ones here, and I'm going to scale them all up by 2, so they're 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to insert different drawing sets. When you're inserting these drawings, they could potentially have different insertion points. Some of them could be inserted in the middle, on a left side or right side, depending on when they were originally drawn. So another thing that I like to do when I'm drawing those in is take a line as my basis here and draw it out so that when I'm inserting other ones, I'm going to be using that to line them up. So I'm just going to grab this one right here. And so I'm all lined up on the top and the side for my next one. So when I come back to insert and go back to import a CAD file and go back to my details and grab another one, this pier one as an example. And again, I'm going to scale that up by 2 because we're in a 1/4 inch environment and it's a 1/2 inch detail. When I go to insert it, I'm just going to line that side up so that it's lined up with that line that I drew so that I know everything is nicely lined up. Go up, grab another one, do the same thing, and keep grabbing as many details as I want to use on my project and having them inserted onto the sheet. So potentially coming into this sheet, I will have all of my drawings. This will be filled with potential details. When you have this sheet defined, and this is a good segue into Nick's next point, once you have all of these, and this is filled with details, all you have to do is delete out the ones you're not going to use on that project so that you have all of the details that you could potentially use, and then just delete out the ones you don't want. Save this as part of your working drawing. And Nick's going to show you in our next tip how to create a template to do that.
So creating a template is probably one of the best time-saving features that you'll find in this webinar. So you can take everything that we've talked about today and incorporate it into an actual template. So creating your additional sheets. Normally when we go into model, we talk about working with a template. When you go file new, a template will contain all the information based on your building, how that building is going to be stacked together. So your building locations will be incorporated. We're just going to focus on the working drawing sheet. So I'm just going to go and say create. Now, from here, it's going to create a brand new drawing based on that template that we specified. And I'm just going to go to my working drawing sheet. And I'm going to specify floor plan 1. So if I'm going to create a template, I'm going to make sure that I have, first of all, my title block is using all the correct information that I want. So I'm going to move over to my title block, and I'm going to say, well, I don't work for Textbox. I have my own company. I want to adjust it. So I'm going to go in and select Edit Definition, and I'm going to change the title block logo to be my logo. I'm also going to change the company information to say my company name with my address, and you can make those changes there. So in here we can say, we'll call this, oh yeah, I gotta keep clicking this content button here. And we gotta go into and say, Bob the Builder is the company name. We can say, okay. and then you can change the company address, and again, we can do the 123 Fake Street. And we'll leave that information save and say OK. Project name, so again, this is going to refer back to the actual project manager. So I'm not going to make any adjustments to this because I do like the way that that actually works. And the same with the attributes. These are actually always going to link back to what I want. But I do want to adjust the, now we'll leave the date as well, because that'll be by when I do it. So we'll say, and then just click escape to exit out. So now it's adjusted my company name and my logo to show the new logo and the new company. And from there, I can now create my additional sheet. So if I want to add in as many sheets as I want, I would just select the last sheet in the list and say copy view. And then I would call this, instead of site plan, I'm just going to go to the view manager. And in here, we can do things a little bit quicker. So I can add in new views quickly and adjust the name. So here I'm going to say this is going to be 5, and it will be electrical, and I will spell it right this time. And we'll call this electrical plan. And we'll leave that at 1/4 inch. And then we're going to say views. I'm going to copy a view again. And we'll now give me another one, and we can call this one 6, and we'll call this plumbing plan. Again, you can go through and add in all the additional sheets that you want for your working drawing set. And then we'll say, OK. So now it's added in these 2 new drawing sheets for me. I always like to make sure that I also make that the view is fully zoomed out, so that way I'm not missing any information, and it's just clean when I go in to create that. And then once I'm happy with it, I will go back and say back to model, and then I'm going to go to file, and I'm going to go save as. By doing the save as, I'm now able to save this with a specific name so that I can use it as a template. So in here, I'm going to go in and say I want this to be Bob's template. And we're going to say Bob's template. And I actually want this to be saved into the templates folder. So this is actually going to be stored under a specific folder within Envisioneer on your computer. So you're going to be going to your C drive, and there it is there. And then we're going to be going to program data. If you don't see program data, I'm just going to cancel out of here. I'm going to open this up. You will need to go to View, Options, and go to View, and make sure that the Show Hidden Files and Folders is checked. This will allow that hidden file or project data to be available for you to click on. So again, I'm just going to go back into this and say File, Save As. Again, Bob's template. And then again, we're going to be making sure that we're saving this to the C drive, program data, Textbox, Envisioneer 14, and then template. This template folder contains all of the templates that you see when you start a new drawing. So that's why we want this to be in here. It's also ordered alphanumerically. So if you want this to be the first template that you see in your list, add a number 1 in front of it. So that way it's always going to be the first template in your list. You can also go down here and specify the options. So the options will allow you to include the last open view as the image, or you can just attach an image file. If you use the attach an image file, we'll just use one of the generic ones from within Envisioneer. The other option is that you can, under notes, you can actually specify what you want this to say underneath it. So that way, if you have multiple templates, you can denote them with a different note to say what's different about those actual templates. And this one, we're just going to say Bob's template again. And then we're going to say OK, and then save. So that takes care of that. So now anytime I want to start a new drawing, I'm just going to say save and then close. And I'm going to go File, New. Now I'm going to have Bob's template is the first template in my list. And I select Create. And now when I start a new drawing, it's always going to bring up that template with all those new tabs, with all the different view tabs that have for different title blocks and different drawing sets. And that takes care of adding in templates.
So I just want to recap what our top 10 tips were for working drawings for those of you that may have come in late so that you can see them again. And also a reminder that we have recorded today's session. So if something went by very quickly and you wanted to see that again, you'll be able to watch the video again. We'll be sending you out an email with a link to it. So our first top 10 tip was when you're using, we had the roof symbol tool that we had used. I'm just going to switch over to our other drawing sheet here. So first thing that we did talk about today was inserting this smart view. When you're inserting a smart view and you're defining that smart view to bring that copy of your model onto your working drawing sheet to document it, whether it is an elevation, whether it is a floor plan, always make sure that you take advantage of this view filter button down at the bottom. This will allow you to turn on and off the visibility of different items if you don't want them to appear as part of your working drawing. That could be as an entire location. You don't want your foundation to show. Choose none, and that will turn it off. Or choose the individual eyes. That can become tedious. You're going to be creating lots of different views of your model, an electrical plan, a floor framing plan, just a regular floor plan, second floor, first floor. So our tip today was making sure that you create templates. These templates will automatically shut down the eyes and the visibility of the different elements based on what you told it in that template. So you could have a template called electrical that turns off everything but your electrical items. Once you've created that template, it's there, and you can continue to use it for other projects, so you don't have to keep turning on and off the eye as you go through. So that was inserting Smart View, tip number 1. Tip number 2, we went to our elevations, and Nick showed you how you can insert the roof symbol. The roof symbol will show you the little triangle and the slope in 12 that you're using. So you can either type in the slope value or you can pick it. So by picking it, we're picking 2 points along that plane, and it will come back and tell you, I was right on the line, you can see, the actual slope value of that plane that you just drew. Or you can go over top of that and say that this is just an 8 and 12 roof. Another big tip that Nick showed you today is the alignment here. Left or right are your 2 options, and that is the alignment of the text on that triangle. If it's on the left, the text will be on the left. If it's to the right, the text will be on the right. So when we click OK here, we've got our little roof symbol. I'll put it down towards our section tool here, and you can see the little triangle built in there. That's a great way of documenting the roof very quickly, so you don't have to draw the triangle, type in the text, and everything like that. Next, we showed you our roof member spacing text tool. And again, that is found under Draw as well, under Detail, Member Spacing Note. This allows you to define where you want a note to start and stop. Left click here, left click there, and then what do you want to be in that note. Remember we showed you how to select one of the joists, and it will automatically populate that in here. And then you can type absolutely anything underneath that, and that will be published. So you can quickly define your spacing for your joists and show them on your model. And we showed you an alternative way to use this tool. We brought it into the floor plan and showed you how you can use that to show floor finishes as well. Nick showed you after that how to use our Descriptive Text tool, and again, that was out on our elevations. Envisioneer remembers what each element is when you brought it in from the model itself. So just by going up to Tools, Leaders, Description with a leader, and pointing at something, you can put in the note. So I'll just try to line up this with the other one. It automatically knew I was pointing at that 4x4 double casement window. So whatever the description of that element is in your model, it'll carry that through and automatically start creating that note. And remember, another big tip from Nick was you can always come back over here on the right-hand side under Object Properties, go to the contents of the text that inserted, and add further notes below it or edit that note itself. But it gives you a really good basis to start it off to quickly put in your notes. Speaking about notes, we know that there's always a lot of notes that you have to type in for your set of working drawings. To save yourself some time, go to Tools, Text, Text. In the text dialog box, instead of manually typing out the notes every single time, take advantage of the import option. The import option allows you to bring in a TXT file or an RTS file, a rich text file. These can be typed out in Word or Notepad. And when I import them, whatever was typed in any one of those two software packages, Word or Notepad, will automatically be populated in this text dialog box. So you don't have to type it over and over again. If you are a slow typist, you really don't want to do that. So make sure you type it out in Word or Notepad once, and then for every single project, you can bring it in. So I can click OK, add that note in, and then once it's in, if one of those pieces of the note aren't relevant for this project, I can always go back in and delete out point number 5 as an example. I'll just backspace that all the way out, click OK, and it's gone. So make sure you take advantage of the text tool so you don't have to keep typing over and over again. We also talked about the information that's populated in the title block. In here, we see we have a project name and a client. Envisioneer, as part of our default template, is automatically grabbing that from the project manager. So we could come through here and change this, and I'll make it Jane's house instead of John. And when I click OK, it's going to update the information in our title block, not just on this one title block, but every single title block that's part of this entire project now will refer to Jane's house, as you can see down here. So save yourself some time and make sure you use the project manager instead of having to go through and type in the information on every single sheet. We also talked about changes to a project. You finished the project, you got all the working drawings done, you're about to send it off to the printer so you can send it over for a permit. The homeowner walks to the door and says, yeah, I want to change something. So you're going to come back to the model. You're going to make that change. We talked about the front door here, replacing it. I'll replace it with a different door altogether, maybe one with side light, 2 side lights. Click OK. Now I've got a different front door. All I have to do is come back to my sheet and go to Update Smart Views globally. Big thing to remember here is you might not want to update all of your smart views, especially if you're dealing with a remodel situation where you've inserted the original house floor plan. You don't want to update that. So you would uncheck that one view and then click Update. It'll go through the entire project, all of your working drawing sheets, and do a comparison back to the model, what has changed, and it will update those sheets accordingly. If that view has something updated on it, it will make the change. If it doesn't, it won't. So we can update, you can see this one view now has the the door with the double side lights on it, and the other views would not have been updated. After that, we talked about attributes. So attributes are strings of text that you are going to be using on all of your different working drawings, but you want to update only on the single ones. So an attribute is something that's going to be updated per single working drawing. If I select this entire working drawing, you see it highlights in green. I'm going to go over to the right-hand side to my object properties and say Edit the attributes. Strings of text that I want to update for this one drawing sheet. So I can change elevations or working drawings and just say drawings, and then click OK. And on this sheet, it'll be elevations drawings. But if I go to my details tab, my details working drawing, and I zoom in on it, you can see it still says working drawing. So strings of text that you update per sheet. So that would be things like the sheet number you would want to change, the drawing name, the scale, who it's drawn by can all be part of an attribute. Things that you normally wouldn't change per sheet are things like the project name. and the client. That's going to stay the same every single sheet you have. So instead of being an attribute, that should be part of this title block, and it's part of the definition of that title block. You know, we have contact name there. That's part of this sheet, John Doe, who we filled out under our project manager instead. We want him to be populated on every sheet, so he's part of the definition of the sheet on our project manager. But our project number is going to change every sheet, so that's going to be an attribute. We also talked about creating a sheet, and I'm going to zoom out here, that is specific to all of the details that you're going to have. Most of your details are going to be similar for every project that you do. So your footing detail, maybe a roof detail, a wall detail, that method of construction that you're showing in the detail will be the same. So make sure you create a details page where you can put in all of those details. And then when you go to print out this details page for a particular project, you can always select one of the details that's not relevant and just delete it out. So you're left with just the details that you need. That saves you grabbing details and inserting them every time you have a new project. We then talked about saving that sheet as part of a template. A template is a blank drawing that has all of your preferred settings saved into it. Some of those preferred settings are your working drawings and how many you have. There might be someone in today's webinar that normally has about 4 sheets every time they do a project. Another person in this watching this webinar today is thinking, no, I have 12 sheets. Every time I create a project, there are 12 different sheets of drawings that I have to print out. Of your template, so that every time you start up that new project, file new, you see your new template in there. And creating a template is as easy as starting a new project, file new, basing it on whatever template that is already there, and then making changes to that new project that you saved. So if I wanted to create even another view, I'm going to copy this view and have another sheet. This could be a new template that I'm creating. To save it as a template, all you have to do is hit File, Save As, give it a name, New Name, and make sure that it's saved in C, Program Data, Textbox, Envisioneer 14, Template. And I'm just going to pull down on here so you can see that entire tree. C, Program Data, Textbox, Envisioneer 14, Template. That's where all of our templates are saved. When they're all saved in that same location, that means we can pull them up automatically when you go to File and New and display them for you. You can see all the templates that are there. Your new template will be saved in there as well. So you don't have to go looking for it. It'll already be part of our projects in there. So I'm just going to hit Save here. So when I hit File, Close, and then File, New, we'll see all of the different templates that have been created, including the one that you have from Bob's template that we created for you earlier. So lots of great tips for you guys to see today on how to save yourself some time when you're creating working drawings. You want this to be as quick as possible once you've got that model done. What I'd like to do now is answer any questions that you might have about creating working drawing tips, or if you have any tips that you want to share yourself. So if you do have any questions or you have a tip that you'd like to share, go to the GoToMeeting console on the right-hand side of your screen, and in there you'll see an area where you can chat with us, ask a question, and then we'll be able to read those out and answer them for you. Can the text box be made bigger so we can edit notes easier? So the question is, if I'm creating a text that I want to put in, Tools, Text, Text, can this dialog box be made any bigger? Unfortunately, no. This text box is as big as it can get. Because we can go on multiple sizes of screens, this text box can't get any bigger. So it is the size that it is. So what I would recommend doing, if it is becoming an issue with you, you can always copy all the text that you want. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it all. I'm holding down my cursor, and then on my keyboard, I'm holding the Control key and the C key at the same time. So Control C. And then I could start up something like Word. So I'm going to go into Microsoft Word. And then in Word, what I can do is start a new blank document in here and hit Control V. That's got all my text. In here, I can type it even longer and make it as long a note as I want, get everything typed in, grab everything again, make sure it's all highlighted, Control C, go back to Envisioneer, Control V. So Control C copies it, Control V will paste it, and now I have my note. So we can have all of those put in there all at the same time. Okay, and then that's a quick way. If you find this dialog box a little too small, type the note out in Word, and then just copy paste. Okay. Trying to read this note. I like to show existing walls and working drawings not as solid, but as curved lines. In curved lines available in hatching, I gather if I add something in working drawings, it's not added to the model view. That's correct. So if you want to show something differently on our model, they want to show new and existing differently. What I would suggest is I'm going to select a couple of the walls here. And on these walls right here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to replace them with a wall that's in the catalog called existing. If I double click on this existing wall and look at its appearance for line work, what we're doing with this wall is you can see it's got a gray color. And I'm going to uncheck solid fill for this as well. So all of the components of this 2D portion of this wall are not going to have solid fill enabled, and they're going to be very light line weight. So when I click OK and OK, this wall looks different. It's lighter. That will translate out to my working drawing sheet. So if I grab this one sheet and I'm going to say redefine the settings, I'm going to turn off the visibility of the foundation plan, display none, second floor, none, click OK, and click update. It'll update this view, and you can see these lines are lighter. So if you do want to denote something differently, make sure that you do it out in the model so it can translate out to your sheet. If you wanted this to have a different line style altogether, we just made it a different line weight. But this wall itself, if I just pick on this one and look at its properties and go back to line work and click on the 2D elements that make up this wall, I can change the line type and change it to like a hidden line. So it will be dashed as well. So it's a dashed line. That will also translate back to our model. If I select this and say update this one smart view, then you can see we've got a dashed line going through instead. So yes, you can make changes, but make sure you make them to the model so that it's going to translate to all of your drawing sheets. Can you outline the steps to save as a new template when you send out today's class email? We'll include a document. There is a document up on our website, and we'll include a link to it, and that'll be the steps to create a template. So you'll have step-by-step notes that you can follow to create your own template. An elevator company sent me a drawing detail. How do I add them so they're both in details and the template? These files here can be brought in from any location. So when we're bringing them in, this is the default location where our details are saved. So if you want to save your elevator detail to that location, you can, or you can start searching and going to any folder that you want to. But this is our default location. So just remember C, program data, CAD, soft, Envisioneer 14, drawing objects. He also showed you that when you went to file and open, he opened up the original template, C, program data, CAD soft, Envisioneer 14 templates, and opened up Bob's template. And that's just like opening up a regular drawing file. These templates, just think of them as your regular project files. Anything that you're going to do in here is going to translate to the next one. So he just went to the details page and added in a new detail. Open and brought it in, just want to be smaller. And then he went to the back of the model, file and save. And then file and close. And this is saving that new detail to Bob's template. So when I hit new and go to Bob's template to create it, if I go back to that details tab, once it's loaded in, that details tab will have both of those two new details on it now. Okay, so that was that question. And that seems to answer all of the questions that we have up there for today. So I want to thank everyone for joining us for today's class on how you can use the tips, the top 10 tips that we have for you today for working drawings to make the working drawing process a little bit easier. Thanks everyone for joining us. We will be sending out an email with a link to today's video, and we'll include that link to a document that shows you how to do a template.
Thank you, everybody, and I hope to speak with everyone again soon.
Goodbye.